This is the Village of Peotone Committee of the Whole meeting for April 27, 2015. We begin by taking attendance. Clerk?
Mr. Reichert. Mr. Hupkey.
Here.
Mr. Wicker. Mr. Callahan.
Here.
Mr. Hack.
Here.
Mr. Forsythe.
Here.
Okay. May let the record show that we have a quorum present. And the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the March 23rd, 2015 Committee of the Whole meeting. Trustees, I'll entertain a motion, or if you see a reason to make a correction, let us know the correction.
I make a motion we accept the minutes from March 23rd meeting.
Second.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Forsythe to accept the minutes of March 23rd, 2015 as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe.
Yes.
Mr. Callahan.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries, minutes become the official record. Public comment for anybody? Okay. Then I'll move on to general discussion. Trustees?
I had talked with our attorney last meeting about streamlining some of these special use or special event permits and amplifier permits. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but they fall within the guidelines and there's no variations of what we allow. I'm not sure we have to, and he seemed to think that we can, not rubber stamp them per se, but kind of do them all like one general yes and that yay or nay on them,
Oh,
instead of doing each one individually.
in other words, if we have,
Yeah, I mean, if they're not asking for anything special out of our norm.
so if three
Three or four
people
come in,
come
right.
in instead of taking each one individually.
Right, and if it's standard, again, like if the amplifier permit, if they're trying to extend the time past our normal times, then we'd have to vote on that one specifically.
Okay.
But,
And are you suggesting we as a board think of them 3 or 4 at a time, or that the administrative staff approve them without the board involvement?
I don't know how it works legally, but I'm fine with them approving it.
We could, I think we might have to amend our ordinance for that, but we could certainly amend the ordinance to permit that.
I mean, again, if it's falling within our guidelines and there's no discrepancies there, then I almost a rubber stamp would be okay with me.
So that would get into the variance aspect, as long as you've met the criteria.
Right. You're not going above and beyond what we're,
Okay. Then basically turn it in.
here's your fee, here's your permit, have a nice day.
Yeah, in other words, that the administrator or clerk can issue the permit as long as they're within the requirements.
You're not waiting a week or two to get your permit.
We could certainly amend the ordinance to permit
Okay.
that, because my guess is the ordinance now requires board approval.
Yes,
You just
I'm
need
sure it
to
does.
amend it a little bit.
If it's, the amplifier permit wouldn't have to come before the board, but the special event ones do.
The way it currently is stated.
Yeah.
But we just
Some of the
bring them
amplifiers
all.
come before the board because they're outside the parameters.
Parameters.
Right.
They want to do it 2 hours later than is normally allowed or something like that.
And that's fine, if it's changing the parameters.
So administrative approval, unless they, as long as it's within the parameters. Otherwise, then it comes to the board.
Right.
Okay. Consensus?
Agree.
Okay. Put something together on that then, would you please?
Yes, and that would be both amplifier and special event.
Good. Okay. Other items?
I have something.
Okay.
There was an issue that had come up over the weekend that I spoke with George about. I don't know if he spoke with you, but we can speak about it
Okay.
later. But the issue I have is we have a police and public safety committee,
Uh-huh.
and the 3 people that are on there would be Jerry Wicker, myself, and trustee Forsythe.
Uh-huh.
According to Wikipedia, public safety issues a city might grapple with include narcotic use, trespassing, burglary, harassment, juvenile delinquency, unauthorized living, noise, littering, inappropriate and social behavior, inebriation, and other quality of life issues. Generally, organizations are involved in the prevention of and protection from events that would and could endanger the safety of the general public from significant danger, injury, or property damage, such as crimes or disasters, natural or man-made. The reason that I wanted to bring that up is we seem to have an update on our siren operation policy. My question is, why wasn't anybody on that public safety committee even asked about why are the trustees being kept out of this? That should have been part, when they go over something like that. Here's the Kankakee Police Department, the Public Safety Committee meeting agenda. They have several items. Westmont, Orland Park, they all have these public safety committees, and they're doing things that we don't do. Why is it that we, as a committee, aren't even considered to be part of something, either a policy or procedure making? Why are we just being bypassed?
On the siren issue, that was something that basically was set up in an EastCom discussion about getting unity about when we trigger them.
Yeah, I don't know, the only thing that has really changed in the past few years, and I would need to talk to Chief Moore, was division of north to south. And that was at an EastCom level to accommodate better efficiencies in EastCom, and Crete was complaining that when it was under the old policy, when we lit up, they lit up, and they would get complaints and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So that policy goes back quite a ways.
Yeah. And there was a transitional period too, because there was a time period when it would be a local officer or somebody who would have to authorize the triggering of the sirens, and because EastCom gets the information sooner, it was determined that because we're a region, it would be more effective that those decisions, and faster for those decisions to be made there. So
Okay.
there was a discussion, simply went on there.
And
But it still
it's-
doesn't answer my questions. Why wasn't a committee that was formed to be part of that, not even consulted, it was just total in the dark?
Part of this was our transition of the radios to being able to, each individual officer being able to initiate a siren, as well as EastCom, as opposed to in the past, it had been, there's one person who was authorized to do it. And I remember, and I couldn't tell you when it was, but I remember Chief Moore either at a committee of the whole or prior to a board meeting, talking about the ability of the officers now to generate those and to trigger the alarms. I guess some of this goes back to which particular part of the policy,
But again,
you didn't think get appropriate review.
we
because the
still,
board wasn't
none of
agreed.
us were even, all this is all fine and dandy and things. And I mean no disrespect to anybody. I think the chief does an excellent job on what he does. But we have this here for a reason. I mean, and according to Wikipedia definition, and according to all the other villages and municipalities that I've checked with, that would have been on their meeting agenda. And none of this was brought up to, was it ever brought up to you?
No, I mean, I do believe the chief had mentioned the procedure, like he said, with the officers opposed to one person.
Right, no, I was here for
Yeah.
that meeting, but that doesn't still, we should have a meeting. There should be, that's why the committee is formed. And like I said, that just came to view because over the weekend, a discussion was had. And we need to be more involved. The trustees need to be more involved, is what I'm saying. And the committees need to be, I guess,
Redefined?
Utilized.
Okay.
Steve?
I'd had a discussion with trustee Hupkey last week. I asked if the committees met. Are there standing committee meetings?
Yes, there are. Well, they're committee meetings as called, much similar to what have been for several years.
Okay. So, but it's not set and then just canceled if you don't have
No, it is not.
information?
No. Typically, what we've been doing lately is, the past few years, is that matter comes to the full board. That's a policy decision.
But I agree with trustee Hupkey that the committees, just from what I've observed over the last year or two, even going back to the dreaded snow removal question, you know, to me, that's something that should have went to committee, been discussed at the committee level, the committee work through it, bring it back to the board, instead of having, you know, like how many discussions at a full board level. To me, the committees, you know, are extremely important to kind of do some of that work outside the full board. And it's actually something that, you know, I was looking forward to talking with Mayor Dorian at our meeting, our upcoming meeting, so. But I do think the committees probably, at least from my perspective, are underused, and the trustees need to be a lot more involved in the discussions prior to it coming to the full board level.
Okay. All right, so I think the essence of the conversation is that take a look at all the committees and see if we can engage them more frequently in related topics and refer topics to them. Yes. Okay. Other topics, other things, trustees?
Have we received the updated list from Buxton?
No, we haven't, and I've been on their case. Not much more I can tell you than that. It's been disappointing.
Yes.
As far as our, I'm not gonna get too far on a tangent here, because I know we got other stuff to do, but as far as building code, specifically to new businesses coming in, whether it's a new build or a remodel, are we competitive with Moni, Antino, Beecher? Are we more restrictive than our neighbors, code-wise? And then furthermore, our procedure-wise with planning and zoning, I deal with a lot with fire alarm systems, and when we submit a print in other neighborhoods, it's a whole different process. I mean, I know building is a little bit different, but it's a whole different process than what we do here. You know, I'll submit my drawings, the inspector looks at my drawings, makes sure all my ducks in a row, and I get a stamp on it pending inspection. Our stuff goes through planning and zoning, you got findings of fact, and you've got a non-elected board being the first contact with this prospective business. Which, I'm not sure if that's necessarily good. As far as my understanding, planning and zoning is more of occupancy. Do you have the right occupancy in the right area? And that's pretty much it. One of the things that came out of planning and zoning not too long ago that, and we asked the guy and he was okay with it, but I mean, he already, I don't know if he was concerned that he wasn't gonna be able to open if he made any waves, but was that the front siding of his building had to match the back siding of his building. Now, the back half of his building is already a cinder block, and when it was built, it was perfectly legitimate to have that there. When we deal with code, we deal a lot with shoulds and shalls. You shall do something in order to open. Would we like you to have the siding match? Sure. But it's not a shall. I mean, especially if you're on a shoestring budget trying to get this business open, we shouldn't be demanding, at least that level shouldn't be demanding him to be doing that without our knowledge. I think a lot of people are going in front of this committee. I'm not saying the committee's bad or anything, but they're going in front of this committee, and these people are making decisions whether they're going to come to Peotone or not come to Peotone based on that before we even get a chance to look at them, before we even get a chance to say, what can we do for you? welcome to Peotone, here's the red carpet, I want to do whatever we can to get you to open up your business. I just think we need to go back and look at what our codes are, what our restrictions are they competitive with other towns? Do we have a smile on our face when they walk through that door? As I said, are we rolling out the red carpet for them? And even if there's obstacles in the way, you know, the answer should be yes. Yes, we can. We're going to work on this, but yes, you can. Yes, you can open. Yes, we can do this. I'm not sure if that's going to solve all of our problems or even any of our problems. That's just my take on it. And from what I see when I go into other towns with my business. And there's a lot of things that, you know, we have fire inspectors that say, well, you got to do this to open. And at that point I say, okay, well, show me the code that says it. Show me an NFPA 72 where it says I got to do that. Well, it's not in there, but I want it. Well, that's great. You can want whatever you want. But you got to show me the code. If it's not in the code, then, you know, they're going to hire an attorney and we're going to open our business. And people have a lot of opinions, but you're not always allowed to express them, especially when it comes to that. You know, the code is the code, and that's it. So I think we need to, I don't know what you guys think. I think we need to look into that and see what we're following as far as code, how much of our code is above and beyond what National Electrical Code is, BOCA, Fire Code, Life Safety 101. And if it is above and beyond, and it's above and beyond Moni or Mantino or Beecher, we really need to consider not being above that. 50 years from now, we got 15,000 people, and we got businesses all over, then we can be more restrictive of what we're allowing or not allowing. We can tell them what type of brick or what type of siding, or, you know, but if it meets building code on a national level, then it meets building code at a national level. We don't need to be going above and beyond that. Because even Orland and Frankfurt, they didn't start off with the codes that they have now. They've gotten to that point after they have all this other business. Now they could be more selective of what they want or don't want. We're not in that position. You know, if you come, yes, that's our answer. Yes, you can open. Yes, you can build. You know, and I'm not saying we want, you know, shacks built, but, you know, we have standardized code throughout the country and the state that it shouldn't be above and beyond that. And I don't have any specifics on code either. You know, I'm saying that it's just something we have to look through and make sure that where we're supposed to be at competitive-wise. Because when it comes to attracting new business, it's almost a business in itself. You know, we have to go out and sell ourselves.
It is.
You know.
Okay, so the essence of where you're going with this is we need to take a look at the planning and zoning and the various codes that are involved there, and do a comparison between us and surrounding areas.
Yes, and even with planning and zoning, what's their function and what's their function in other towns? You know, what are they used for? What process are we going through as far as our...
A lot of that is established by state code, and we
Okay.
follow state code, which is what most other other communities do. Other communities may have additional reviews. We don't particularly have that at this point in time. We just basically follow state code.
But I think the point is that if planning and zoning is the point of first contact,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a very pleasant experience, 9 out of 10 businesses may be gone before we even have a chance to consider it at the board level or consider their interest in town. And what the solution to that is, I don't know, because planning and zoning serves a vital function. But perhaps we should at least reevaluate or give some consideration to who that first contact is and in what manner, so that we're showing open arms, if you will, before there could be any sort of just a view, a perception that, oh, this is going to be too difficult, I'll look elsewhere.
Okay.
And I mean, just to some extent too, what I point out there is, it seems like quite frequently at planning and zoning, there's a lot of governing of what really comes down to aesthetics. And I think that may, of course, be, you could have 5 different people on a board, and you change out 5 people at a time, and every single one of the boards would have a different opinion as to what would be aesthetically pleasing and what would be approved and what wouldn't be. And so there needs to be some consideration of that as well.
And that's kind of what I'm saying about where the code comes in is, nobody should be dictating what color you paint your building, okay? I mean, there's nothing in building code that says the building has to be brown or black or gray. If you want a pink building and the paint is, made for outdoor use, then it's a pink building. I mean, who are we to say you can't do that? I mean, there's nothing in state law or state code that says that's prohibited. And it rubs people the wrong way when you say, I can't do this. Now, if you come to somebody and say, look, no, we got this state code, section 5, paragraph 6, everybody's going off of this is what you can do, you can't do, they're gonna swallow that a little bit better. But if we're saying, you have to have, this type of siding all the way around, and Monique's saying, yeah, we don't care what, as long as it meets, the state code, go ahead and do it, we potentially lost somebody over a silly issue. An issue that doesn't have any bearing on their building and the way it's built. It's not going to fall down because their siding is different color, or their front is vinyl and their back is cinder block. It's not going to take away from the structure. So I just want to make sure that we're not over-governing, overreaching our powers.
Okay, and I think ultimately it comes down to, let's do a comparison to the communities around us and look at some of the things that are done there, in addition to what are the mandates that apply. Okay.
Brendan,
Yeah.
can I say something? I just want to defend planning and zoning. I was on there for over 20 years, and often that's the only chance you're going to get to try to enforce some kind of conformity to the village. Now, I'm not, the color of the siding, whatever, we don't care about that, but, as far as like when Dollar General came in, we were able to get them to put in some nice landscaping that they wouldn't have done otherwise. And the other thing, trustees are always welcome to come to planning and zoning committees, and, you have your input in there too. So I agree, we don't want to put up roadblocks for business to come in the community. And, but I think, sometimes you have to, that's your only chance that you're going to get sometimes to get somebody to maybe make the business look a little nicer than just, come in, however you want, as long as you're, have the correct wiring in the building. We don't care what it looks like. So that's just my 2 cents.
How many years did you serve as chair?
I lost track.
All right.
That's kind of what I'm saying. I mean, the shrubs and the mulch in comparison to, you start tacking on $30,000-$40,000, and the other town next to you is saying, you don't necessarily need to do that. That could be a deal breaker. Now, if we're talking about Kmart or something huge that they've got endless amounts of money, it's not such a big deal.
What you're looking at is a
The
mom and pop kind
yes.
of business.
Yeah, when you're starting off with $75,000 or
Yeah.
$60,000 and trying to get something going, why are we trying to get what we can get out of them then? We need to say, yes, you can open. Welcome to Peotone.
Mhm.
What can we do?
I know in some cases, we've run into situations where businesses come in and there were requests, stipulations, whatever you want to call it, put on them. And we've worked out deals whereby you don't have to do all of this right now. Do step 1, do step 2, do step 3, to see that. And to get back to the other comment that was made, a lot of times, some folks are looking to put the absolute minimum in, and the aesthetics part of it doesn't matter to them, yet it's something that reflects on the whole community. And I think that there's a balance in there that needs to be achieved.
Yeah, I understand that. Like, when we build a new house, you have to have, 2 trees in the parkway. There's certain requirements as far as your front sod and your, the hydro seeding of the backyard and stuff like that. And I've got no problem with making those stipulations if it's in our code, and again, if our neighbor towns are doing it too. But we're not gonna attract a bunch of people if we're over-regulating everybody. It's just not gonna happen. The more regulations you have, it's dollar signs. And they are gonna go someplace else. Advanced Auto Parts is gonna go to Monier. Culver's is gonna go to Monier. And I'm not saying that we had issues, I know, that's a
That's not a good
fancy
example.
thing.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
Why'd you do that? I thought we already made them go to Mooney.
Or they're gonna go to Mantino.
And I think to some extent, when people locate businesses, we're in a similar market area.
Right.
And
I just want to make sure that we're not in the same, we're not in the same market as Frankfurt or New Lenox or Mokina or Orland. 15, 20 years, 30 years down the road, maybe. But not now. We're not. We're Monier, we're Mantino, we're Wilmington, we're towns like that, Beecher maybe. Even Beecher's maybe a little bit more. Those are what we are.
And to some extent too, I think there needs to be some uniformity with respect to the actual decisions coming out of planning and zoning. I mean, if someone asks for a variance, then certainly the variance can be conditioned. And I mean, that's really the approach that's taken, is you're asking for something from us, so we're asking for something from you, which, so be it. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is. But it's within the last year that we had 2 nearly identical businesses request nearly identical variances, and the requirements for one business out of that variance were different from the requirements for the other business coming out of that variance request. And so, I mean, right there, there's a perfect real-life example of extra conditions being imposed that may not be uniform, or that if it is a Monday or Tuesday, because depending on the day, we may have a slight difference in what we'll require out of you. And so perhaps there needs to be some sort of more general uniformity in that respect, and I'll leave it at that.
it comes back to, we need to do a comparison.
Yes, it does.
And I think we'll move forward in that part and see if we can get some comparisons on some key items with surrounding communities, so that, if we need to just do a comparison. I guess it's the simplest way to put it. All right, other comments? Hearing that, I'm going to suggest we got about a half hour left. We have to do the semi-annual review of the minutes. It's on the agenda for the next meeting. I'm going to suggest that we take the time to review them, but don't act on it until we hit the agenda item for the meeting, the regular board meeting coming after this. So, I'm going to request that we go into executive session for the sole purpose of reviewing the closed session minutes for possible release at the next meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Forsythe, to go into executive session for the purpose of reviewing the closed session minutes for possible review. Please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have to come back into regular